We'll go ahead and get started with our post-race press conference. We're now joined by Brad Keselowski, driver the number 2 Worth Ford, finished runner-up in today's AAA Texas 500. This ties a career best finish for Brad at Texas Motor Speedway in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. You led 312 laps. You're now 6th in the chase. Just talk about those last laps as Jimmy made that move up to the front.
Yeah, it was a good race at the end, and we led a lot of laps, a lot to be proud of, and came up one spot short, which is unfortunate, but still we had a great day. Just one step short of having the awesome day we needed to have, but we know if we keep running like we have the last 2 weeks that we'll win races, and we need to win the next 2, and I understand that, but I think we have a great opportunity to do it as well.
Okay, good. Open up for questions. If you could raise your hand, we'll start with Stan, then we'll go to Drew.
Brad, Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. You looked strong up until the very final pit stop. Did you all make any major changes at that final pit stop?
I'm not sure. I have to ask my crew chief on that. But, yeah, we had a great day, and I thought we were definitely the fastest till that run, for sure.
Okay. Let's go over here to Drew, and then we'll go to Nate and Bob.
Brad, Drew Davison, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Obviously, there's clear disappointment, but and I know it's still fresh, but do you think you could have done anything different to hold off Jimmy, or was he just too fast?
Oh, I'm sure we could have done something different. I don't know if I could have, but we could have. We'll have to go to work and try and figure it out.
Let's go over here to Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. The way the points are situated now for you and Joey, it's pretty much one or the other, it looks like, at Phoenix. Is that going to make it tougher? Does that make this harder to swallow, that if you win this, if it gets in?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really had enough time to look at that to digest it, Nate. Certainly we'd like to get both cars in at Phoenix, and I don't think that's impossible, but it doesn't look favorable. But we'll go there and do our best to make it happen.
Bob.
Bob Hawkers, ESPN. Considering what's happened over the last 3 weeks, what was your kind of philosophy as far as how much contact you could have with people in those last few laps?
I didn't feel like I changed any philosophy concerning the last few weeks. I felt like it was pretty clear before, and remains clear that you can race hard for a win and make contact that's reasonable and kind of prudent for the situation. And I don't feel like that's changed.
Pat Ticola, NASCAR.com, where you were so dominant most of today. If you are able to advance to Homestead, do you feel good about that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as strong as we ran today, if we can carry that over to Homestead, good Lord, watch out. So, we know we need to win the next 2 to win the championship. The good news is we have that opportunity, and that's the way I look at it.
Let's go Mike, and then we'll go back to Bob.
Mike Hembree, USA Today. You in the 78 barely touched there when you were racing late, and did that have any impact on the rest of the race at all for you?
Yeah, I don't know. It certainly is never helpful when you make contact with another car, to your own car or theirs. As far as whether it hurt my car or not, I couldn't answer that.
Let's go back to Bob, and then we'll go up to the press box.
Bob Hawkers, ESPN. Do you feel like you kind of lost this one, that you let it slip away, and just
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to feel about it at the moment. The 48 car had so much speed them last 10 laps that, as I sit right now, and maybe I'll change my mind, I don't know what I would have done differently or could have done differently.
So, does that change maybe your level of disappointment?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, there's always something you can do better, but not knowing what that might be at this moment makes it a little bit easier to digest.
Let's go up to the press box.
Wolfgang Monzer from Germany, Ranchport Press Agency. Brad, 2 questions for you. Number 1, when your teammate Joe Logano had this tire problem very early in the race, you were maybe getting nervous or afraid maybe similar things could happen to you? And
sure.
Did you also speak to your colleagues from the 22 car? What exactly caused the tire problem?
Well, the second question I would defer to Paul, because I didn't speak with anyone on the 22 team about it. I haven't had an opportunity. But the first one, certainly, when you see your teammate have an issue, and not just my teammate, it sounded like there was 3 or 4 other cars that had an issue. The faster you go, higher the odds are that you're going to have that problem as well. So it certainly was on our mind all day, Wolfgang.
Let's come back down here. Right there.
Stu Myrick, Austin Radio Network, and 104.9 The Horn. Kind of going on that, it looked like you had a pretty clean race as far as no tire issues. Pit stops were pretty clean with the exception of that last one. Talk about how proud you are of your crew. Got you almost to the end.
Yeah, we had a damn near flawless day. Great pit stops, fast car in qualifying. Never ran a lap in race trim, and the car was just flying in the race. So, my team, I feel like did an excellent job all day long and has a ton to be proud of.
Any additional questions? Brad, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
We'll go in and continue with our post-race press conference. We're now joined by Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 M&M's Crispy Toyota, who finished 4th in tonight's AAA Texas 500. This is his 9th top 5 finish at TMS. You're now 2nd in the chase standings with an 11-point advantage. Talk about your run and just as you hit momentum heading towards Phoenix.
Yeah, it was a really good day for us. Obviously, just being able to run our own race and to perform the way we did, and I felt like it was pretty good. I wish we had a little bit faster car on the short run for sure. I think that was kind of where we lost most of our time here today. But once things kind of got single filed out a little bit, spread out, our car was kind of better on the long run. So, at least we did have some speed in our car on one side of the run where we could start to make up some ground and even maintain our position on the racetrack. But can't say enough about Adam Stevens. Everyone on this M&M's Crispy team, they did a great job. Our Toyota Camry was awesome. TRD did a great job with the engines. So just look forward to Phoenix next week and look forward to just maintaining our position. If we can go out there and win, sure, we'll take it. We'd love to win. But, right now it's not a must-win situation for us like it is some other guys. So we might see some fireworks. Who knows? But all in all, couldn't be more pleased with the position we got right now.
Let's go over there for questions. We'll start back there with Stan. And I'll go Nate and Bob.
Stan Creekmore with RPM.com all the way in the rear. From a mental standpoint, did you kind of cheer when Jimmy Johnson was able to take the lead and that definitely hurt Keselowski and his run for the chase?
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying that certainly, us as the 18 car cheering for the 48 helps our situation. It makes those guys that are in dire need of a win to have to work hard for it, and you can't. Sometimes you can't put yourself in that situation, and it may or may not have been his own doing last week at Martinsville, but it's unfortunate for Brad. I mean, I've been in that situation before, maybe never to that magnitude of losing a race quite like that, but I've lost plenty of them that way for sure, and even probably a couple of them to Superman. So, it's frustrating, I'm sure, for Brad, but for what we got going to focus on the 18 car, it was a good thing for us today.
Well, Nate and then Bob.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Kyle, kind of following up on that with the point situation entering Phoenix with Jimmy winning, that obviously opens up another position at Homestead. Harvick has been so dominant at Phoenix recently. How do you and other guys who are in that points window look at this? I mean, is it a winnable race still, given his dominance, and do you have to look at it differently, given that, knowing that you can advance to Homestead on points?
I do not think it's a winnable race until Kevin Harvick gets beat, He's shown that he's certainly got the stranglehold on the Phoenix racetrack. So ever since the repave, the Joe Gibbs racing cars, we haven't quite been the same as what we were before it, and it's kind of hurt us a little bit. But, for Harvick and what he figured out, whatever he's figured out there with RCR, he won a couple times, and then, of course, with Stewart Haas now, he's kind of got the stranglehold on that track. So we look at the point situation and guarantee Harvick winning that race, and so then you got to figure out who you're racing after that. To know what you got to do in order to point your way through. So if we can win, though, and go out there and win the race, then we will. But as far as we're concerned, it's that's how we look at it.
Do the Gibbs cars feel like you guys are better than you were? Because I know it was a struggle back then.
Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle last fall there. I think Kenseth ran 20th, and that's what eliminated him out of the chase. And Denny ran 10th or whatever. He had a good enough position that he was able to finish good and transfer through to Homestead. And so Ken's tested for us out there a few weeks back and did a really good job. So I'm looking forward to what he's got worked out for us and getting out there and making some laps and hopefully having a good race car.
Bob Hockris, ESPN. How bad was your tire when you kind of came in? Looked like you came in a few laps early before that green flag cycle came in. And I have another question.
I'm not exactly sure how bad it was. I mean, just from it rolling across the front of my car, looking at it, it looked like it had about 8 spirals, across the tire. So the inside half of the tire looked like it was starting to spiral out. So it wasn't good.
And I mean, I know it's out of your control, but any concerns about any points from the splitter issue this morning?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we've seen splitter issues changed before. The Penske cars had theirs changed once. I think a Hendrick car or something like that earlier this year. So I don't foresee there being any penalties from NASCAR on that, but anything's possible. I could be wrong. I have no idea what the infraction was or what they were upset about, but we changed it and apparently met their expectations after we changed it, and we're able to go out there and race today.
Stu Myrick, Austin Radio Network and 104.9 The Horn. Looking at your position in the chase, you're in second place, you're in pretty comfortable position. How much will that go into your strategy next week in Phoenix?
It'll go into our strategy a little bit. If we're running 5th to 10th and that's what we need to do, then that's what we need to do, But if we're running 15th and there's a guy behind us that if he passes us, he's going to knock himself in and us out, well, you're going to have a heck of a lot harder race on your hands, So we just don't need to run that. We just don't need to run like that. We just need to go out there and perform and do what we've done this round, and that's to finish top 5 each race, And if we can top 5 it again next week, that's obviously just going to help our situation and roll us right on the homestead. But in a perfect world, we'll sit on the pole and win the race and take a win on into Homestead and with some good momentum and look like a real contender.
Jay Pennell with Fox Sports. Just talk about Eric Jones's day today and the whole weekend. Did you kind of coach him through anything? I mean, you've done a lot of triples. It's his first one at 19, and he ran well all day, finished 12th. So just talk about his day.
Yeah, I never really got a chance to talk to him a whole lot about the triple. I felt like he obviously's got a good head on his shoulders and knew what he needed, or felt like he knew what he needed. He really didn't ask a whole lot of questions, but he hasn't been racing for a whole long time, but yet he's pretty mature behind the wheel for sure. So he did a really good job this weekend and winning the Truck Series race. That was really good for us. KBM, his chances for a championship, and then of course yesterday he ran top 5 and had a solid effort there in the Xfinity race. And I never saw him today. I saw him a couple times restarting right next to me, but after that I never saw him. So he was behind us a little bit, but finishing 12th, that's pretty good.
Over here, Jerry.
Jerry Fraley, Dallas Morning News. Kyle, this year you've been real good in the third race of each of the previous 2 rounds. You did what you had to do to advance. Does that add anything to your mindset going into Phoenix, knowing that you've been able to answer the bell, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it does, but I think the Phoenix situation is going to be entirely different than Dover. The racetrack's entirely different. Talladega, the racetrack's entirely different. So we just go out there, like I said before, we just got to do what we know how to do, and that's to run top 5. So if we unload with a good piece and have a solid day and end up there, then that's all we need to do. We'll take it.
So Daniel, then we'll go Lisa, and then Joey.
Daniel McFadden, NBC Sports. Kyle, we're 2 races away from the end of Jeff Gordon's career. Do you remember the first time you raced against him, and what's your favorite memory from your career of racing against him?
First time I raced against him was my rookie year, Daytona 500, obviously. So I think if I remember right, I started right behind him, in the Daytona 500. But I think he won that one. That was one that he won. But he's been a huge icon to this sport, and obviously he's done a lot of good things for this sport and has brought it to the notoriety that it is today. So without him, we certainly would be in a different position. But it's disappointing to see him go. It's almost heartbreaking, I guess, for some, and others. There's a bright light on the other side of the door. With Chase Elliott. So we'll see how Homestead goes for him, and if he can pull off a championship and really go out with a Cinderella story. It's a long story. I do. I've got a few. It's a long story. I don't have all day. Let's go. I got to go home.
Okay, then real quick, something positive to think about. My name's Janine Cloud, and I'm with Skirts and Scuffs. Considering how you started the season, would you express a little bit how it feels to be sitting where you are right now, facing the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of adversity for myself in the beginning of the year, my family, my wife, and especially. But things have certainly turned on for the better, and we've been doing some really good things. Midsummer, being able to win 3 races in a row, 4 out of 5 races, that turned our season around right there, and we were able to perform and get ourselves chase eligible. And to NASCAR's rules, we did everything we needed to do, and we're in the position we're in because of that. So, because of this different chase format, and we barely made it in. We're kind of the last guy in, and then we were the last guy through the first round. We were the last guy through the second round, and it doesn't matter if we're the last guy through the third round. As long as you're a guy through, you're fine, and you've got that opportunity to go race Homestead and race for a championship. So, I'm thankful for everything that has happened, although some of it was pretty bad. It certainly has put us in a good spot right now, and I couldn't be more pleased with Joe Gibbs Racing, my team, everyone, Joe, all my supporters there at the company, and, of course, Adam Stevens as well, too. I mean, the year that he had to start off with no driver, I'm sure was hard on him, but he's really pulled through, kept the team together, and everybody's really been pulling in the right direction in order to make sure that, we've had a strong fight this year, and we'll continue to do so next weekend in Homestead.
That's one final question in the back.
Joey Barnes, TributeRacing.com. Just to follow up with that, how gratifying is it for you, knowing what you've overcome this season, to be one race away from the championship 4?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a dream come true. I mean, I never would have expected that we'd be in this position, let alone that when that first accident happened, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I'm done. I mean, literally the thing that flashed through my mind was, man, I'm going to have to go lay decals again. That's what I did before I raced. I was a decal guy, but fortunately things worked out. I had a great medical staff and therapist and wife who just kept digging on me and making sure that I did all that I needed to do to get going. So I've said it before, I'll say it again, the script's written. I think there's 2 scripts written. It's just which one's going to come true. Jeff Gordon certainly has one, and I feel like we have one as well too with this 18 car. And hopefully it's our Cinderella story that can go end the season with on the 18.
Kyle, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you. You got it.
We're going to continue with our post-race press conference. We're now joined by the winning crew chief of tonight's AAA Texas 500, Chad Knaus, who oversees the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. This is the 6th win for you and Jimmy here at Texas Motor Speedway. First off, talk about the success you guys have here, and then sort of what unfolded for you atop the pit box there as the race started out with tire wear and just seeing Jimmy continue to make his push towards the front.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Obviously, we didn't know exactly what we were going to have due to the lack of practice, so we went into it with a lot of unknowns actually. And then as people started to have some tire failures, which we saw some of that in the Xfinity race yesterday, and it's kind of typical here until the track rubbers up. We didn't really know what to expect, and initially we took off and the car was really, really tight for us. So we made some big swings to free it up, and we were able to move back towards the front a little bit. And then we had a huge transition, and the track started to loosen up for us again, so we had to tighten it back up. So we kind of played back and forth depending upon where we were running on the racetrack and what position we were, clean air versus dirty air, green flag versus caution flag. But, Jimmy and the team did a great job. We made huge, huge changes on the race car today throughout the pit stops. Our guys did a really good job. The guys that prepared the car were actually jumping over the wall and making changes, and other guys were changing the tires. So there was a lot of activity, and the guys really worked hard for it. So for not having any race practice, I'm really proud of what these guys were able to do today.
Let's go ahead and open it up for questions. Raise your hand. We'll start there in the back with Stan.
Chad, Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. When you have a day like today, how comfortable does that make you feel when the day's over and it's a checkered flag and after the season you've had?
It's been look, let's not, you got to be honest, it's been a tough last 3 months. The beginning of the year was pretty damn good to be honest with you, but we've worked hard. We tried to figure out what was going on, to battle different aero packages and different things, and the summer slump that the 48 typically goes through. So it's been a bit of a challenge, and we'd be in the middle of this championship chase if it wasn't for a small mechanical failure. That being said, I feel like that we've run really well the last 6 weeks. Martinsville being the track we probably ran the worst at over the course of the last 2 months, which is really odd. We just haven't been able to post the finishes. But to be able to come out of here today with the win and to be able to race for it the way that we did, I think it speaks volumes about where the 48 is and the no give up attitude that we've got. As far as me, yeah, it feels great. I like it. I don't want it to take that long before we get back here. How's that?
Going up front.
Stu Myrick, Austin Radio Network, 104.9 The Horn. What did you hear anything from other crew chiefs, maybe other Hendrick crew chiefs, about the tire situation? Was there any information going back and forth about it?
We actually had one left rear tire. We were slipping back a little bit, and Jimmy was talking about getting loose, and the caution came out shortly thereafter. As we came down pit road and took the tires off, we saw that we actually had a left rear tire flat, or going flat. It wasn't flat yet. But we didn't really communicate with the other teammates about it too much. I don't think any of our other teammates had issues. The 88 had a problem, I think, with the right front potentially. They were running in some pretty clean areas of the racetrack, so I wasn't too shocked that the 88 had some trouble. But again, I was kind of prepared for it. This track does that a lot. So we were pretty conservative on our settings, knowing that we didn't get any race trim practice to make sure that we wouldn't have a problem. And thankfully, we really didn't. But like I said, that one left rear tire we did have a small little problem with, but thankfully the caution came out and actually saved us.
Any other questions? Let's go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Chad, I'm just trying to get a sense of perspective, looking at the 4 team and Rodney Childers. And this, obviously the chase is a meat grinder, for 10 weeks anyway. They've had a lot of ups and downs. Rodney has from the running out of fuel at New Hampshire leading to all sorts of issues on and off the track, or on the track during the races. How do you, when you've had throughout all your chase experiences, how draining is that? I mean, this is already a mentally taxing thing, but to have the ups and downs throughout a race, how does that wear, or how do you keep that from wearing, beating down a team or beating you down as a crew chief?
You can't keep it from happening. It's very taxing. It's a challenge. It's an emotional challenge for sure. Honestly, the driver actually probably has it the best because he gets in there and he kind of gets in a little siloed and he's, active for the 3-4 hours that you're driving. So he really doesn't have the residual effects of, gosh, I hope we got the right shocks on there. I hope they got this tight, or I hope we got that tight, or things of that nature. So on a crew chief, it's grueling. It's really, really tough. But that being said, that's why we do it. We like that. That's the thrill. That's the challenge. What they're going through, I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't even know what happened to them today. I didn't pay any attention. So, yeah. So I don't know. All this stuff is in the details, man. And let's be honest. The 4 car is going to be tough to beat at Phoenix. But I'm going to say I bet the 22 is as well, and I bet the 18, and I bet the 48, and I bet the 24, and the 88, and a bunch. So it's going to be a challenge, but the 4 car I'd say has the upper hand going into Phoenix, but we'll just have to see how it all shakes out.
Brant.
Brant James, USA Today Sports. When a team locks in at a track, you guys certainly have places where you win time and again, and Kevin, no secret, at Phoenix.
Sure.
Is that generally the driver loves the feel of the place, the really smart crew chief figures something out? What's the combination? What's the percentage?
It's all crew chief.
Is it? Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Next. No, no, it's a combination of both. Quite honestly, there's things change. The tracks change a lot. Obviously, we go through, Charlotte Motor Speedway, for instance. We went, I don't know how many races, and we won just a bunch of them, right? Then they repaved the racetrack and kind of lost a little bit of it, and we're starting to slowly get it back. Martinsville is a challenge. Since they've changed some of the stuff, we've had difficulty getting back on top of it the way that we need to. Texas is one of those racetracks that fits Jimmy's style. We've taken horsepower away from the cars. We've added downforce. We've done a lot of these things, and it's been tough for us to maybe actually get on top of where we need to be because a lot of the tracks you just don't have to, honestly, you don't have to handle that good and you don't have to drive that well to be able to run up front. Texas is a racetrack where you've got to have a hell of a driver to be able to make it happen. Atlanta, Chicago's, places like that, Kansas, for instance, you really got to be able to be on your game to be able to run well with those tracks. So this really falls into Jimmy's wheelhouse, and I think what helps us is Jimmy needs to be able to drive the race car, and this is a track that you've got to drive. And when you have to drive it, you have to be able to communicate with your crew chief, and that's what Jimmy does. And he speaks to us in a language that we understand at these types of racetracks, and it makes it better racing for us.
Let's go Kenny and then Stan.
Kenny Bruce, NASCAR.com. Chad, do you feel, I don't know if it's disrespected or overlooked when, like you mentioned, you guys you have 4 wins, 5 now, but people tend to think, oh, you've had a bad year.
Has been washed up.
Does that ever do you ever feel like, what do we have to do?
Well, I mean, we have to not have mechanical issues and axle seal problems and things like that. And like I say, we'd be right in the middle of this thing, right? So, look, we did it to ourselves. Let's be honest. We I don't want to say we slacked, but we stunk up the summer 100%. It was horrible. It was pathetic. And, then we come into the chase and we're running pretty good. We ran well at Chicago. We ran well at New Hampshire. New Hampshire, we had a problem. We came back and we finished well. Chicago, we had a solid run. I'm sure we had something go wrong there, too. And just start stacking up the problems that we've had throughout the course of the season. And you get written off. But, man, this is a tough sport. 39 events, 39 weeks. We race with 43 of the best teams in racing. And it's tough, and it only takes 1 or 2 little things to make you feel like that you're out of it. But I can tell you, my guys are strong. We've got a group of guys that have never been better. Our pit crew is the best it's ever been. We've brought in 3 new engineers this year. So you would think from the onset that we should have been behind the 8 ball. Unfortunately, we came out strong. So everybody was like, "Oh, well, they're great, they're awesome." But there's still a learning curve that you got to go through. So I think coming into 2016, it's going to be right where we need to be, especially with these new rules. I can't wait.
Okay, with the changes that you guys made this year, did it surprise you that once again you had that summer?
The damn summer. I'm just going to stay home next year. I don't know what the summer thing is. I wish I knew. We're not going to have it next year. How's that? We're going voodoo. Something. I don't know. We're going to figure it out.
Let's come back, Stan.
Yeah, Stan Creekmore again. Chad, you made the remark about being conservative in your approach to this event. How much of that conservation did you throw out the door on that final pit stop?
That was we made some small adjustments right there at the end. The car was pretty good the run leading up to that, so we kind of had a basis of where the car was, but we made some small adjustments right there to be pretty aggressive and to try to make something happen. Look, let's be honest, in the position that we're in, if we finish second or we finish fifth, does it matter? Not really, right? So you got to go for the win. So we made some changes there, and we let Jimmy light the fuse and put on his cape and go after it.
Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. How much did the lack of practice, do you feel, impact these tire issues teams are having? Or is it just, look, teams are pushing envelope and, because we saw kind of the same thing a little bit in the Xfinity race yesterday.
No, that's a good question. And it's things that we can't get on top of with more track time. But, this type of racetrack, which, again, don't take this wrong. This type of racetrack and the surface and the tire and all that makes for really, really good racing. So don't think that we've got to go hyper-conservative the other direction and make it to where these tires don't wear out, because that's what we need. That's how you develop good racing and you have passing. So I think the lack of practice hurt some of the guys, and it's unfortunate for them. But this combination of tire and asphalt that we've got right now is actually what you're looking for if you want to have good racing. I don't know. You watched the race. I'm in the middle of the pit box. I don't know what was going on. You know more than I. But if they were tire rubs, then you know what that is. If the tires are worn out, then that's a different story. So I don't know the whole story on any of that stuff. I'll know after I watch the race next spring.
Any other questions? One final question down here in the front.
Stu Myrick, there it goes. This is kind of a motorsports in general question, Chad. Are you do you feel like maybe there's kind of a renaissance? I mean, NASCAR is doing great, of course, but you're starting to see a little more popularity with other disciplines, say sport car racing, Le Mans, Formula One. Do you see kind of a renaissance of motorsports popularity as a whole in the United States?
I think so. I think you got to realize the competition that we've got is just unmatched. It's pretty amazing. If you want to watch any type of motorsport or racing, this is as close as it gets. I think with the new rules that we've got, going to the fuel injection, things like that, people can start to begin to identify with what it is that we do on a regular basis a little bit more. We need to continue to push that. I think that's a huge, huge thing. The closer we get our cars to what it is that people actually drive, the more they're going to have that connection. But if you watch, like you mentioned, the 24-hour Le Mans, that technology is what people are driving day to day. And that's why it interests them. That's neat. That's fun. You know, we get to the point where we're actually supercharging and running, you know, legitimate turbos and things like that in Sprint Cup, man, you're really going to get a lot of these kids to pay attention. So that's years down the road, if ever. But, you know, I think that's got a lot to do with it. But quite honestly, the instant thrill that you get from motorsports is what a lot of the younger generation wants and looks for. And, man, we deliver it. I mean, let's be honest. The last 20 laps right there, the middle 40 laps, the first 15 laps, I mean, that's what people are looking for excitement. Man, we deliver.
Chad, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
We'll go ahead and continue with our post-race press conference. We're now joined by the winner of tonight's AAA Texas 500, Jimmy Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. This is the 50th win for the Chevy SS and 106 points starts. This is Jimmy's 6th victory at Texas Motor Speedway. The first driver to win 3 consecutive Cup races at Texas Motor Speedway. You've won the AAA Texas 500 4 times in a row. This is your 75th career win. You're one shy of tying Dale Earnhardt. Ironically, you only led 6 laps for your 6th win here. Talk about your evening and that late push there at the end.
Yeah, just big day for the Lowe's race team. Summer didn't go as we wanted. There were some good races in there, but no trips to victory lane. And then to start the chase, we had 2 good races, and then Dover happened. So from that point on, we had to swallow that pill, and certainly disappointed that the hopes for the championship were gone. But we've tried to make the most of it. I think our mile-and-a-half performances have been really strong in the chase, and we've been building and knocking on the door for a win. So, into today's race, I feel like the 2-car had the field covered. Whatever went on with the adjustments on that last pit stop and the track getting shade on it and cooling down really helped my car, and it hurt his car. Maybe the second lap I could see that his car was getting really tight, and he couldn't even run the bottom of 1 and 2 as we rolled off in there, and I'm pretty optimistic and hopeful that I could get the pass done. And got close, got next to him, but just couldn't really pull the pass off. And then finally, he slipped pretty good off of turn 2. And I came from like third lane with a huge run down the back straightaway and was able to clear him going into turn 3. So, we wish that we were in the chase. We're still fighting for the championship, but to get a win here does a lot for everybody at Hendrick Motorsports. Couple that with Jeff's win last weekend and his hopes to go to Homestead and become the champion. We've definitely got a very excited 600-plus employees back in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, good stuff.
That's all right, Mark.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Jimmy, over, I guess you're right. I guess my left, you're right. Any special satisfaction in beating a car that dominated and then keeping a guy from locking in a spot in the championship after you've lost your shot at the title?
Nothing in my mind. I'm not happy I kept somebody from advancing. I just don't think along those lines. Happy I beat the dominant car. That definitely was in my mind, and to see him miss the bottom as he did the second lap through, like, all right, it's on. We got a chance, because I got the second pretty quick, and I looked in the mirror and I had a lot of space between where I was and third, and I knew that gave me the opportunity to run anywhere on the track and not have to worry about defending. And then it was just a good old-fashioned race. I mean, just race your guts out, and that part was fun. So I had a great time with it. You know, clearly Brad had a lot on the line. Thankful that he raced as hard and as clean as he did, and you know, we just went out there and raced hard. He did a nice job of driving wide. You know, his car wasn't driving as easily as it was beforehand, so he had to get in the corner and take a set, and then that arc, his car was really set on that arc from the rest of the way off because it looked tight to me. My car was driving better. I could kind of move around and pick a different lane. But honestly, if he didn't get really loose off of turn 2, first he got tight and then the back end stepped out. If he didn't lose that drive and momentum there, I'm not sure I could have gotten by him. But all it took was that one slip, and I was there.
Let's go Mike, Kenny, and then Bob.
Mike Embry, USA Today. It looked like over the last 6 or 8 laps that you were almost as dominant as Brad was the rest of the race. Was it more a case of what you've been talking about of his car kind of going away as opposed to yours getting a lot better?
I don't know. Chad was kind of asking me the same question in Victory Lane. For sure, it was the best we were, and then I hadn't seen him that vulnerable, so I guess just a combination of the two. You know, Chad was really impressed how long I was able to dog him and keep pressure on him. He didn't feel that through the course of the race he saw any other car be able to hang that long for that many laps and put pressure on somebody to overtake him, especially for the lead, because Brad was just gone. But I don't know if it was the track cooling down, adjustments, combination of both, but his car wasn't as good, and mine woke up.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Kenny Bruce, NASCAR.com. What happened on the last restart as far as how the things played out with Brad and Martin in front of you on the front row? What did you see, and what did you actually do to get clear of all that and get in position?
So they took off, and I think we made it back around to turn 1, and they rubbed a little bit getting into turn 1, and that's the last I saw Martin, so I don't know what happened and how significant that rub was, if it did any damage or what. Did he have a problem? I finished 8th or whatever. Yeah, I just saw him rubbing going into turn 1. You know, Brad was just racing hard up there and rubbed a little bit door to door, and that was it. So then after that, yeah, went to work trying to get by the 2.
What were you looking for when that restart happened? I mean, was there...
I was hopeful they spun each other out and just handed it to me. When they touched, you know, 78 was gone pretty quick, and then you know, I'm wondering if the 2 might have a tire rub or something like that, and I didn't see any smoke, so I assumed he was fine.
Let's go, Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Did anything in the last 3 weeks impact how you raced those last 10 laps, 10, 15 laps, and would you still would you still have been done as much contact if you needed to as you would have done in the past?
You know, honestly, I race people how they race me, and Brad's always raced me clean and hard, and he did that again today, and you know, we both showed each other that same respect. So it was really, you know, what's gone on between other drivers the last few weeks has no bearing on myself. You know, you really handle your own situation, how people treat you, how respectfully they race you, and we just had a good hard race today.
Okay.
Jay Pennell of Fox Sports, 75 career wins, puts you one behind Dale Earnhardt. We saw Jeff tie that a couple years ago and then move on past that. What would that mean to score that next win and tie him and then, you know, potentially go forward and pass his record?
It would be huge. It's hard to even put it into words. You know, I came into the sport hopeful to win a race, and to have 75 of them is mind-blowing. And if I'm able to tie a senior, it would be, you know, just something that sits deep in me and something that I'd be just extremely proud of. Yep.
Stu Myrick, Austin Radio Network and 104.9 The Horn. 6 wins at Texas Motor Speedway. What is it about this track why you do so well here?
Honestly, I feel like the tracks that are abrasive and bumpy just fit my style and fit our team style, and this track has more content in it, and I think the asphalt is, you know, on the older side of really anywhere we run, and that really suits us well and fits for us.
Let's go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. I've got 2 questions. with heading into Phoenix and the success that Kevin Harvick has had there, winning the last 4, obviously there's a lot of line for the Chase guys. I know you still you're there to win as well. How do you explain, how do you define that success there of one competitor? I know you've had some streaks at some tracks and why it seems to happen and how tough that's going to be for others. And the second question is, did you see Matt Kenseth's tweet that referenced you and how you handled things at the end of the race?
No.
He said, so you can...
Clearly he was watching and bored at home.
He said, he said, good work.
I heard his Packers lost, so he's probably not in a good mood.
He said, good work, Jimmy Johnson. Textbook pass for the win at the end of the race when someone is trying to take your lane. Hashtag quintessential.
That's a nice buzzword. Ooh. Oh, Matt's, we always thought he was boring and quiet. Look, he's always on fire. No, thank you, buddy. Yeah, I don't know how to even answer that, to be honest. The first question, Phoenix defending a streak. You know, when we've had a streak going, deep down inside, you're happy you're going on that track. You know, but also deep down inside, you know that was a year ago. You know that in the instance at Phoenix, it was months and months ago, and a lot has changed. But you know what you're looking for as a driver. You know what you're looking for as a crew chief. What's tough is when you unload and you're off at a place like that, where you've had success, and you show up calm and relaxed, and then when you're faced with some adversity, it's easy to overreact. It's easy to kind of hit the panic button, especially with all the pressure that's on the line. And that's something you have to manage. We've had to, anybody with a streak at a particular track, you've got to show up with realistic expectations, but enough swagger, you know, and that it's a track that's good for you, and then go get it done. And it's so hard to make it through an entire weekend, make it through an entire race. We saw the flat tires today, mechanical issues, racing issues that can pop up. Phoenix is a tight little scrappy racetrack. You know, the streak that the Fords had there with 4 wins in a row is an impressive one. It's not an easy place to get it done. So I guess there's a couple other cars. The Penske cars are strong there, and they both need a win. So it's going to be an interesting race out there.
Daniel. Dale McFadden, NBC Sports. With 2 races left in Jeff Gordon's Sprint Cup career, in all your years with him as a teammate, what's going to be the one memory, your favorite memory of racing against him?
For me, I think the championship battle we raced for in 08 comes to mind. I guess a particular race I would, it's somewhere in that area as well. Raced him for the win at Martinsville, and he was trying to move me out of the way the last lap, and we were door to door to the finish line at Martinsville. So I'd be between those 2 thoughts, 2 memories.
George.
Jimmy over here, George Diaz, Orlando Sentinel. Chad mentioned this a little bit about the struggles you had this summer. Obviously, as good as it feels now, and not to be Debbie Downer here, but is there a little bit of frustration you think you might feel down the road, thinking, you know, this kind of got away from us where we could have been chasing another title?
Yes and no. I mean, I've got to be fair and honest and look at the race after Dover, which was Charlotte, and we had a problem with an oil pump there. And then our next 2 performances wouldn't have helped us transfer, so we would have been out. So the reality of it is we're not as strong as we need to be, and we've been searching for a couple years. I feel like we're making progress. I feel like our mile-and-a-half stuff is improving. The cars are a lot more comfortable to drive in traffic, and I can go out there and race like I did tonight and lay it on the line and not worry about spinning out. So we're getting there. Unfortunately, we still got a ways to go. So the win's important. You know, I think we were a top 5 car, top 3 car all day, and then circumstances at the end got us the win. We want to get back to being the dominant car, and we still have some work to get there.
Joey.
Joey Barnes, TributeRacing.com. Jimmy, just kind of getting your thoughts here. With Jeff Gordon, this being his final season, and him being the last Hendrick driver standing as far as the championship battle goes, how much y'all as an organization are rallying to try to get him that title?
We're doing everything we can. There's no doubt about it. You know, when you get into the race weekend and the driving style that Jeff has, the style that Alan has with his race cars, it's really tough for especially the 48 to say, hey, this works for us because Alan goes about it differently than Chad does, and Jeff and I drive a different feel, look for a different feel in our race cars. So we're trying, we're doing everything that we can to help, but unfortunately you're pretty limited. And I guess it's good. I mean, it's really up to the individual team to go out and get their job done. So I'm certainly pulling for them and do everything that I can to be of assistance.
Nate, behind you.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I have two, Jimmy. One is that Keselowski not winning here essentially means that it's going to be him or Logano advancing at Phoenix if one of them advances. If Keselowski wins this race, there's probably still a possibility that Logano could advance at Phoenix, but now it's probably an either-or situation. You've been in that situation with battling Jeff for championships. What do you think it's like for a team like that where it looked like throughout this entire race they might have two shots at the finale, and now they've only got one?
Yeah, racing teammates is tough. There's nothing easy about it, and the way those two cars have become so successful and fast is the way that they've worked together. And I'm sure Roger's going to continue to preach that the only way one of them will have a shot at Phoenix to advance is if they continue to work together. And a good problem to have would be both cars, up front and running 1-2. So I assume that's the direction things will go, but it's not easy. Then you get on the track, and if you really are duking it out for the win, you're supposed to leave your teammate an extra inch or two, and then your championship's on the line, your career is on the line. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes and how everybody handles the pressure.
And then the other thing was that there was a lot of superhero illusions getting tossed around about your victory. Kyle Busch said that Superman got the job done. Chad was in here earlier saying you put your cape on. Those are the types of things I think we used to hear a lot during your 5 championship run. I know you're a humble guy, but does it make you feel good to hear people talk about you that way, and that sort of like awe-inspiring, sort of like he just finds a way to win when it's on the line like that?
It is cool to hear. I wish I would have found a way to win a few more times this year. It's been a long, dry summer, so glad that I found the Cape. It wasn't too dusty and too far away.
Steve?
Steve Richards with PRN. You'll have to forgive me on how I asked this question because it is a quote.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. On the radio before the final restart, Chad said, "Let's go out and scare the shit out of them." How much did that inspire you, and did that, fire you up? Yeah, that's the term.
I've always told him he's a terrible cheerleader. He tries like hell. I've even yelled at him a few times, telling him he sucks at it. So, and he still today tells me to eat and drink in the car. Would you think if I was thirsty, I would remember to grab my drink tube and take a drink? Or if I was hungry, get something to eat? So it's just a crew chief thing. They go through it. At that point in time, it did bring to my attention both those guys. It tells you how much I pay attention. I thought both just needed to finish well. I forgot the two had to win. So I took that as, hey, put pressure on these guys. If there's enough pressure on them, they might choose to get a good finish over racing for the win. But as soon as the green fell and we went racing, that all goes out the window, and you're just worried about passing the car.
Go back to Steve.
Jimmy, I wanted to ask a motorsports general question. Of course, NASCAR growing in popularity. There seems to be a renaissance, though, in motorsports in the United States, from ARCA to sports car to endurance championship to Formula One to other disciplines. Give us your thoughts on that, what you attribute it to, and how well the growth of those disciplines also helps NASCAR.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see where other forms of motorsports are at, and even on a weekly level, in the NASCAR world or stock car racing, because our circus is on the road every week, and we go track to track and just know our environment. But I'm just happy that there are many other passionate people out there and people that love this sport, love this industry, and choose to spend their life doing it. And that's what really advances it, is people that are all in, people that are passionate about this sport, and hopefully in the end put the right hat on and try to keep the sport healthy and advance it and do what's right for the industry. So happy to hear that it's strong, and hopefully we can keep growing the NASCAR side of things, because I think if we're successful, all ships will kind of rise at the same time. So, looking at the other major divisions of racing, there's very compelling racing that's taking place, great personalities, and all the big series and divisions. So, I know that's helping the cause.
Any additional questions? Jimmy, thank you very much, and congratulations.